All right, let's get started. All right, folks. We'd first like to start today with a land acknowledgement. Our team is coming from different locations today. We want to start by acknowledging that we are all speaking from the traditional territory of many nations across Turtle Island. I myself am currently located in the unceded, unsurrendered traditional ancestral home of the Coast Salish peoples, the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Squamish peoples. We recognize Indigenous peoples' innate kinship beliefs when it comes to the land, especially because these beliefs are constantly challenged. We also must recognize that slavery happened on this land and that racism exists to this day. While we acknowledge stolen land, we also make it a priority to recognize stolen people on stolen land. I encourage you all to go to native-land.ca to find out which traditional lands you reside, and to familiarize yourself with the longstanding history of that land and your place in that history. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alfred Matning, and to do the land acknowledgement in French, we have Mara as well. Please, Mara, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Mara Gour-Mercado. I'm the ED of the Quebec section of the Academy. And so I will switch to French now. J'aimerais souligner que je me trouve sur le territoire traditionnel des Kanien'kehá:ka. L'île appelée Montréal est connue sous le nom de Tiohtià:ke et a toujours été un lieu de rencontre pour les nations autochtones. Il est aussi important de reconnaître qu'il y a eu de l'esclavage ici et que le racisme existe encore à ce jour. Il faut non seulement reconnaître les territoires non cédés, mais aussi prioriser la reconnaissance des personnes disparues sur ces mêmes territoires. En tant qu'industrie qui participe à la fabrication des imaginaires des peuples, il est crucial de connaître les conséquences passées et présentes du colonialisme. Je vous encourage donc à en apprendre davantage sur l'histoire des territoires sur lesquels vous êtes en visitant native-land.ca et à soutenir la résistance autochtone.
Thank you, Mara. Again, welcome everyone for joining us. Thank you for joining us today in the WarnerMedia and Canadian Academy Programs Info Session. Again, my name is Alfred Matning. My role here for today is the host. Through this program, my role is the program facilitator. So thank you all. Today we'll be discussing the inaugural Directors Program launch, which we launched last week, and also the second edition of the Writers Program, which we also launched for applications call last week. In the last year and a half, the Academy and WarnerMedia have been working together. The Academy's focus to build lasting change in the Canadian industry by nurturing opportunities for creative and authentic storytelling perfectly aligns with WarnerMedia's alignment to connect with writers and directors around the world, because a diversity of voices, perspectives, and experience is critical to our business, our content, and our culture of innovation.
Merci. Donc, vous allez voir au fil de la présentation, je vais m'occuper de la version française de ce que Alfred dit. Donc, on est dans l'année inaugurale pour le programme des réalisatrices et réalisateurs de WarnerMedia et l'Académie, et dans la deuxième année pour le programme des scénaristes. Donc, ces deux programmes répondent très bien aux missions des deux organismes, ou en fait des deux entités, donc celle de l'Académie de créer un changement profond dans l'industrie canadienne en nourrissant des récits créatifs et authentiques, et celle de WarnerMedia, qui est de connecter avec des scénaristes du monde entier, car, je vous les guillemets, une diversité des voix, de perspectives et d'expériences est essentielle pour notre entreprise, notre contenu et notre culture de l'innovation.
Thanks, Mara. And also for today, I would just like to quickly introduce a couple of folks that will be joining us in this call. We have Melanie Hadley, who is the WarnerMedia Access Programs Director. We're also joined by Nafisa Mourji from the Canadian Academy. She is the Director of Talent Development Programs. You've already met Mara Gour-Mercado, who is the Executive Director for the Quebec branch of the Canadian Academy. And also helping us today, hosting in the back end is Nancy Hu. If you have any questions, pop it into the chat and Nancy will be the one organizing any of those questions for us. All right, folks. So again, this info session, just to quickly let you folks know what we will be doing for today. We're going to go through the writers program overview. We'll have Nafisa and Mara speaking about that. We also we'll be going through the directors program overview. We'll have Melanie and Mara speaking about the directors program. We'll be going through the application process as well. We'll also be going through the adjudication evaluation process. And then we'll finish off the first 30 minutes of this info session with key dates. And then for the remaining time, we're going to open it up to the floor, to the webinar floor, for some Q&As if you folks out there have any questions regarding any of the information we've delivered for you today. Just some quick.
Alfred, I'm just going to summarize what you just said. No worries.
Sorry, go ahead.
Donc, le programme de la séance d'info aujourd'hui, alors les introductions, mots de bienvenue, etc. On va commencer par un aperçu du programme pour scénaristes avec ma collègue Nafisa, ainsi que les critères d'admissibilité. Et ensuite, ce sera la même chose pour le programme des réalisatrices et des réalisateurs. Et on va aussi parler de la manière dont les candidatures seront évaluées, des dates clés. Et à la fin, il y aura une séance de questions-réponses pour les deux programmes.
Thank you, Mara. Sorry about that. Just a couple of housekeepings before we move on to the kind of main meat of the conversation here. So please submit any of your questions that you have during the Q&A in the Q&A box. You'll see that arrow there pointing. There's a specific Q&A box. Please put that in there. Both English and French translations of questions asked in the sessions will be added to our FAQ section in the academy.ca website accordingly. So if you ask something about the writers program, it'll be in the writers FAQs, for example. If you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to contact us by email, and we'll provide that email for you at the end of the first 30 minutes of this info session. If you have any technical difficulties, please pop that into the chat, and hopefully Nancy can help you out with that. And also just a reminder, we are recording this session, so it will be available to you on YouTube after this session. All right, folks?
Donc, quelques informations utiles. On vous invite à poser vos questions dans le petit chat Q&A en anglais ou en français. Les questions vont être répondues dans la langue demandée, donc dans la langue dans laquelle vous avez posé votre question, et les traductions de toutes les questions posées seront ajoutées à la foire aux questions sur academy-y.ca. Si vous avez d'autres questions à la fin de cette séance d'information, n'hésitez pas à nous envoyer un courriel. Là, on va vous présenter le courriel à la toute fin. Aussi, si vous avez des questions techniques ou des problèmes techniques, n'hésitez pas à utiliser le chat ou la conversation pendant la séance d'information. Et on vous invite à poser vos questions aussi tout au long de la séance d'information. Une dernière chose, cette séance est enregistrée, donc elle sera ensuite disponible sur les différentes plateformes pour les personnes qui n'ont pu y assister aujourd'hui.
Thank you. All right, and I'd love to invite Nafisa now to speak to the public about the Writers Program. Take it away, Nafisa. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Alfred. Made sure to press unmute. So yes, as Alfred mentioned, my name is Nafisa Murji. I'm the Director of Talent Development Programs at the Canadian Academy. And yeah, I'll be speaking about the Writers Program, which, you know, as Alfred mentioned, is going into its second year. So it might be the one that is a little bit more familiar for folks. But we did want to just go through the overview of the intention behind the program and eligibility requirements as well. So as we can see here, this program is a professional development initiative. It's focused on experienced Canadian writers from underrepresented communities. The program is planning to support a maximum of 12 individuals who are looking to progress in their career in episodic television or in feature film. And the way that the program does this is through development of a specific project, which we'll speak a little bit more about, as well as mentorship and community building opportunities, some sessions and workshops on that, and then connections to and industry knowledge gained from WarnerMedia executives and creators who will also, come in to speak to the participants as part of the program. And over to you, Mara.
Yes. Donc, on va parler un peu des objectifs du programme pour scénaristes WarnerMedia. Donc, c'est une initiative de perfectionnement professionnel qui est axée sur les scénaristes canadiens et canadiennes d'expérience. Donc, on parle vraiment de personnes qui ont déjà une feuille de route et qui sont issues de communautés sous-représentées. Ce programme va appuyer jusqu'à 12 personnes qui cherchent à faire progresser leur carrière dans les champs dans les champs spécifiques de la série télévisée et du long métrage de fiction. Donc, on se concentre vraiment sur ces deux secteurs spécifiques-là de la création, grâce au développement d'un projet en particulier, à du mentorat et à des occasions de renforcement de la communauté, ainsi qu'à des échanges et du partage d'expertise avec des cadres et des créateurs créatrices de WarnerMedia. Donc, tout au long du programme, ces cadres et créateurs créatrices de Warner viendront parler à la cohorte pendant des sessions spécifiques.
So just a quick sort of snapshot at the program. So as mentioned, the program will take up to 12 participants. The dates for the program will run from May next year to January of the following year. The sessions that we do throughout the program are going to be virtual since we do have participants across the country. Some topics that are going to be covered in that is looking at sort of US and global perspectives of TV, film, video game writing, the business of the industry, pitching, elements like that, as well as taking the areas of interest of the participants into consideration. Session leaders would be WarnerMedia executives and other creators who are working in the industry who can, share their knowledge and their expertise. And a note that with both the applications and the projects that are being developed in the writers program, they can be in English or French. And there would be accessibility adjustments for the language on that front, as well as other accessibility adjustments as needed. However, the program sessions, the modules that take place would be in English.
Donc, un petit aperçu du programme dont on vient de parler, jusqu'à 12 personnes, comme on mentionnait. Le programme sera de mai 2022 à janvier 2023. On parle ici de séances virtuelles, donc il n'y a pas de présentiel. Les sujets qui seront abordés lors de ces séances, donc scénarisation pour la télé spécifiquement avec un angle États-Unis, le film, le jeu vidéo, l'industrie de façon globale, ainsi que des séances de pitch ou pour apprendre à pitcher. Les chargés de séance, les personnes qui vont donner ces séances, donc nous avons des cadres de WarnerMedia et des créateurs, créatrices de différents secteurs de l'industrie. On accepte les soumissions en anglais et en français. Des accommodements seront disponibles pour l'accessibilité. Par contre, vous devez tenir compte que le programme en tant que tel se tiendra en anglais exclusivement.
All right, so now getting into eligibility for participants of the program. So as mentioned already, the program is designed to support writers from underrepresented communities. So specifically creators and writers who are Indigenous, Black, racialized groups, people with disabilities, LGBTQ2IA+, and Francophone members of those communities. And then other requirements are 2 written by credits on a TV, film, game, or animation production, or looking at writers with the equivalent professional writing experience. And we speak a little bit more to that, excuse me, in our facts document, but also just to share that that's in other areas that can be sort of transferable and applicable, such as theater, prose writing, that sort of thing as well. So already mentioned, but applications and scripts can be in English or French, but sessions are in English, and participants do need to be Canadian citizens or permanent residents or 19 years of age, and 19 years of age and older.
Donc, les critères d'admissibilité du programme. Le programme est conçu spécifiquement pour des scénaristes issus des communautés sous-représentées, donc les personnes autochtones, les personnes noires, les personnes racisées, en situation de handicap, les personnes LGBTQ2IA+, et les membres francophones des communautés mentionnées. Donc, vous avez aussi besoin d'avoir 2 mentions écrites par ou scénarisées par au générique d'une œuvre de télévision, de cinéma ou d'animation et ou de jeux vidéo, ou vous devez avoir l'expérience professionnelle équivalente en scénarisation, comme par exemple, vous êtes un auteur ou une autrice de théâtre et vous avez une feuille de route suffisamment longue pour justifier que vous présentiez votre candidature. Il y a plus d'informations à ce sujet sur notre site web dans la section, questions. Donc, la documentation soumise et les scénarios, comme on le disait, peuvent être en français ou en anglais, mais les séances et les communications du programme se feront uniquement en anglais. Les participants et participantes doivent avoir la citoyenneté canadienne ou la résidence permanente et être âgés de 19 ans ou plus.
Thank you, Nafisa and Mara. So before we go into the director's program with Mel, just would like to remind everyone, we just went into a lot of information in there. If you have any questions, we will be addressing all of those in the Q&A portion. As you're writing your questions in the Q&A box, please be specific whether or not the question is for the director's program or the writer's program. All right, and now I'd love to introduce everyone to Mel Neepanak-Hadley, who's going to be talking about the program, the director's program overview.
I tried to get my lotion on my hands before my turn started, but it just wasn't happening, you guys. So now you have to watch this. My name is Melanie Neepanak-Hadley. I'm the program director, as Alfred mentioned. Next time, I feel like I want to go before Nafisa. That was a tough act to follow. Nafisa's very poised, and we're about to hit the skids here with me, I think. I also just want to give a shout out to Mara, who is really the MVP of the day, pulling out double duty here, and now unfortunately has to translate me, which I can only imagine is the highlight of her day. So why don't we get going here? So the director's program, very similar to our writer's program. We are looking at experienced talent. With the director's program, we're actually looking at those people who've really been doing the thing for a while. It's a program that we're really excited about because it's about capitalizing on the talent that's already out there. It is a talent roster initiative, which is a term that we have sort of made up, but it is geared towards those who are actively invested in the craft and actively pursuing more opportunities in the directing space. The inaugural year will support up to 10 individuals seeking to make those advancements. Ultimately, this is the first program, WarnerMedia Directors Program, WarnerMedia has run in Canada, and much like the Writers Program, is going to have unprecedented access to WarnerMedia executives.
Oui, donc, un petit rappel. Ouais, un petit rappel que vous pouvez vous poser vos questions dans le chat questions et réponses pendant toute la session d'information. Donc, n'hésitez pas. Et on vous demanderait de préciser pour quel programme est votre question spécifique. Donc, le fameux programme de réalisatrice, en fait, pour réalisatrices et réalisateurs de WarnerMedia, c'est l'année inaugurale, donc c'est la première fois que c'est présenté. Donc, c'est une initiative de déploiement des talents qui est axée sur les réalisateurs et les réalisatrices canadiens et canadiennes d'expérience. Donc, on parle vraiment des personnes qui sont déjà dans l'industrie, qui pratiquent déjà leur métier depuis un certain temps, qui ont une bonne feuille de route et qui sont issues de communautés sous-représentées. Donc, cette initiative est conçue pour les personnes, voilà, comme je viens de dire, je me répète. Et donc, c'est vraiment pour des personnes qui ont le but de réaliser des séries télévisées de n'importe quel genre. Donc, c'est vraiment spécifique à la télévision et à la série. Pour sa première année, le programme va appuyer jusqu'à 10 personnes qui cherchent à faire progresser leur carrière dans le secteur des séries télévisées. Et donc, la manière de faire, ça va être de jumeler ces personnes-là à des réalisateurs et qui ont vraiment une carrière, en fait des réalisateurs d'expérience sur des plateaux de séries télévisées. Les participantes et participants auront l'occasion de développer des liens avec les cadres de WarnerMedia et avec des créateurs et créatrices de l'industrie qui vont pouvoir leur faire bénéficier de leur expertise tout au long du programme. Vous m'excuserez, il y a de la construction, donc ça se peut que vous entendiez quelques bruits étranges tout au long de la séance d'information.
Bravo. Oh my God, Mara, you're killing it, girl. So as mentioned, the program will select up to 10 participants. So the call's open now, it's closing. There's always that time for adjudication. So we will be selecting the people in April, and then they will remain on roster until January of 2023. During that time, the goal is for them to be activated by a production in Canada. In the event that they are, well, during that time, they will also have the ability to participate in some virtual modules. Those will range from, we do have a vocational sort of lane of activity with WarnerMedia that is doing some virtual production stuff. They'll have opportunity to participate in things like that. The program is available in English with some accessibility adjustments. With accessibility adjustments, pardon me. I think that's it.
OK. Donc, un aperçu du programme, comme on le disait, jusqu'à 10 personnes choisies pour cette première mouture. Le programme ira d'avril 2022 jusqu'en janvier 2023. Les séances seront virtuelles, mais le placement sur un plateau de séries télévisées canadien, lui, sera naturellement en personne. Le but étant que ces personnes puissent se familiariser ou en fait évoluer sur un plateau de tournage de séries lourdes, entre très gros guillemets. Les chargés de séance seront, comme pour le programme, des cadres de WarnerMedia et des créateurs et créatrices de l'industrie. Les soumissions peuvent être en anglais ou en français et des accommodements sont disponibles pour l'accessibilité.
And like all of our programs, this program is designed to support directors from underrepresented communities, which are Indigenous, Black, racialized groups, people with disabilities, LGBTQ2, IA+, and Francophone members from those aforementioned communities. Now, some of the eligibility criteria, it can sound limiting, so we're going to expand a little bit on that. We are looking for individuals that have 2 directed by credits on a TV, film, immersive media, and/or animation production. However, we are also open to equivalent professional directing experience. We know that people take the work that they can get a lot of the time, especially with the underrepresented community. So you might find yourself having a lot of experience directing commercials, other short format work. And so we really encourage you, if you have any directing experience, to apply. We as a team also only get smarter by the information that we get from the community. So if you feel like you're on the bubble of, well, I haven't directed any films, I haven't done this, but I have directed these other types of screen-based work, we still would really love to hear about it, because I think people are working in different ways in the industry. Now, applications can be in English or French, but again, similar to the Writers Program, the placements will be in an English dominant environment. Similar to the Writers Program, the participants do need to be Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and 19 years of age or older.
Merci, Mélanie. Donc, les critères d'admissibilité pour le programme des réalisateurs et réalisatrices. Alors, c'est un programme conçu pour les réalisatrices et réalisateurs issus de communautés sous-représentées. On parle de personnes autochtones, personnes noires, racisées, en situation de handicap, LGBTQ2IA+, et les membres francophones des communautés mentionnées. Donc, vous allez voir, les critères sont un peu serrés. On parle vraiment de personnes qui ont 2 mentions réalisées par au générique d'une œuvre de télévision, de cinéma, de médias immersifs ou d'animation, ou ayant l'expérience professionnelle équivalente en réalisation. Donc, on le sait que plusieurs personnes de groupes sous-représentés prennent le travail qui est disponible. Donc, on est aussi ouvert à des gens qui ont, par exemple, de l'expérience plutôt en réalisation du côté commercial ou dans d'autres types de formats qui ne sont pas mentionnés ici. Donc, on vous invite, même si vous regardez ces critères d'admissibilité-là par rapport aux 2 mentions réalisées par et que vous dites « je ne suis pas sûre si ça peut fonctionner », s'il vous plaît, contactez-nous, assurez-vous de parler à une des personnes responsables du programme pour qu'on puisse vous accompagner là-dedans et voir si effectivement il y a une possibilité pour vous de participer. Les candidatures doivent être déposées en anglais, en fait peuvent être déposées en anglais ou en français, mais les placements en tant que tels se dérouleront dans des environnements majoritairement anglophones, donc c'est à tenir en compte. Et les personnes participantes doivent avoir la citoyenneté canadienne ou la résidence permanente et doivent être âgées de 19 ans ou plus.
All right, thank you, Mel and Mara. Now to go through the application process for both the Writers Program and the Directors Program. Go ahead, Nafisa.
Sure, thanks, Alfred. So the application process in terms of logistics is the same for both the Writers Program and the Directors Program. Both require completing an application through the online portal, which can be found at academy.ca. Both programs are accessible on that website, and it'll take you to the application page. You do need to have a Google account to use the portal. You can create one if you don't have one, and there are no application fees for either program to submit an application. And then now we'll walk through what we're asking for each program in terms of a submission checklist. So for our Writers Program, what we look for is a sample script for the discipline that you want to work in. So it can be an hour scripted TV, half-hour scripted TV, or a narrative feature film. So the idea is that you would submit your sample within whether you're looking to work in TV or in narrative. Must be an original draft created solely by you, regardless of the ownership of that sample script. So it could be a completed or produced work, although we may ask for further details on that. Yeah, that is it for this sample script. And then the other element.
We're just missing the French of the Okay. Donc, comment poser sa candidature pour le programme des scénaristes? Alors, vous devez remplir votre demande à travers notre portail en ligne. Vous voyez l'adresse ici, donc academy.ca/WMA accès /writers. À noter qu'il faut avoir un compte Google pour utiliser ce portail et qu'il n'y a aucun frais d'inscription. La liste des éléments à fournir, vous devez fournir un exemple de scénario dans la discipline qui vous intéresse, donc un épisode d'1 heure ou d'une demi-heure d'une série télévisée ou un long métrage de fiction. Donc, à noter, on parle bien ici de long métrage de fiction. Il doit s'agir d'un scénario original créé uniquement par vous, donc pas de co-scénariste, peu importe sa propriété intellectuelle. Un scénario terminé ou produit est admissible, mais on pourrait vous demander plus de renseignements à ce sujet. À noter aussi, je vous rappelle que pour poser vos questions, on vous demande d'utiliser la section Q et R dans votre barre, dans votre petit menu au bas de l'écran, complètement à droite. Donc, c'est là que les questions seront regroupées. Voilà.
Okay, and then additional elements for the submission checklist for the writer's application. So we're also asking this year a little bit different than last year. We are asking for details of the original project that you would ideally like to focus on while in the program. So that would be the feature film or the TV series that you're looking to develop. And so the details that we would want on that is just a logline or synopsis, the format and genre, and what stage of development you are with that project. It can be at any stage of development. So it could be something that's just at concept stage, or it could be something where you've already started a draft on it or have a draft, but it cannot be optioned and there cannot be a co-writer attached for that project. And that's all we need of it. We don't need to see the actual project itself or the script if you have any materials of it, just the details listed there. Then there's some other elements of the application. So we are looking for an artist statement to tell us a little bit more about your sort of creative vision as a writer, the kinds of stories that you're looking to tell, and just what excites you about that work. And then we're also looking for a bio, and then there's going to be a set of self-identification questions to answer, which are voluntary and kept private. That is confidential information just for the internal team to use. And again, voluntary for you to answer. And then there's other questions about industry experience and career goals. We'll also ask for a CV. And then there's a submission release form, since we will be reading a sample script to just fill out. And there's some details there of just confirming that the use of that script is just for the selection process and kept confidential and private to the internal team and any jurors that are involved.
Donc, comment poser sa candidature pour le programme des scénaristes? La liste des éléments à fournir. Donc, vous devez fournir des détails du projet, les détails du projet original sur lequel vous désirez travailler dans le cadre du programme. Donc, une phrase accroche, synopsis, format, genre et stade de développement. Votre projet peut être à n'importe quel stade de développement, mais il ne doit pas être sous contrat ou avoir de co-scénariste. Donc, on n'a pas besoin d'un scénario fini pour ce projet-là, pour que vous puissiez poser votre candidature. On vous demande aussi de fournir une démarche artistique, 500 mots maximum, une bio professionnelle, 150 mots maximum, et on vous demande aussi une communication volontaire de renseignements personnels et informations sur l'expérience professionnelle et les objectifs de carrière, un CV et un formulaire d'autorisation. Le formulaire d'autorisation nous permet de lire, en fait, que les comités internes et les différents jurys qui liront vos exemples de scénarios auront signé une entente de confidentialité, mais vous devez donner l'autorisation pour que ces personnes puissent lire ce que vous soumettez.
And sorry, just before we move on, I'll just clarify, because I think I might have confused a little bit. I might have been a little bit confusing when I was sharing, but the sample script does not have to be the same as the project you're looking to develop in the program. Those can be two separate projects, or it can be the same. So if the sample script you submit is the one you're looking to develop in the program, then you can just fill out those details in that section. Or they can be two separate projects where we get a sample script and then there's a different project that you want to develop. So apologies for that confusion.
Donc, petite clarification, ce que vous soumettez comme exemple de scénario ne doit pas nécessairement être le projet sur lequel vous désirez travailler dans ce programme-là. Ça peut être deux choses complètement différentes, ou ça peut aussi être la même chose. Donc, ce que vous soumettez comme exemple de scénario ou comme exemple d'écriture peut être le projet sur lequel vous désirez travailler tout au long du programme pour scénaristes.
Okay, and for the director's program, so as mentioned, the process to apply is very similar, and a lot of the elements that we're asking for in the application are similar to the writer's program as well. So again, the application link can be found on the Academy website, and you will need a Google account, no application fee. In this application, we are also asking for an artist statement, a bio, a CV, and then the questions as well for the self-identification section and speaking to your industry experience and career goals. And then the two elements that are different in this application for the director's program are, we are asking for 2 reference letters from folks who are familiar with your work. So it could be collaborators that you've worked with on past projects, or it could be folks that you know of the industry who can speak to your creative vision, your directorial style, elements like that. More information is on the application about where to look for references if that's helpful. So two letters for that. And then we are also asking for visual support materials. So links to 2 scenes that you have directed that you're sort of most proud of and sort of speak to your style. There's a time limit associated with that. And they can also be pulled from a director's reel if you have one existing there too. And that'll be a part of the selection review process.
Donc, pour le programme des réalisatrices et réalisateurs, comment poser sa candidature? Alors, tout comme le programme des scénaristes, vous remplissez et soumettez votre demande à travers notre portail en ligne. Vous voyez l'adresse à l'écran. Il faut avoir un compte Google, tout comme pour l'autre, et il n'y a aucun frais d'inscription. La liste des éléments à fournir, vous devez fournir votre démarche artistique en 500 mots, une biographie professionnelle 150 mots, une communication volontaire de renseignements personnels et informations sur l'expérience professionnelle et vos objectifs de carrière. Vous devez fournir aussi un CV. Vous devez fournir 2 lettres de recommandation. Il y a sur notre site, sur la page de ce programme spécifique, plus d'informations sur comment, où aller chercher ces 2 lettres de recommandation. On vous demande aussi du matériel visuel à l'appui. Donc, ce matériel est important pour voir un peu quel est votre style de réalisation, etc. Ça peut être des scènes spécifiques que vous avez réalisées dont vous êtes le plus fier et qui représentent le plus votre style personnel. Ça peut aussi être un extrait d'un reel avec votre travail. Donc, voilà.
All right, thank you, Nafisa and Mara. And now to talk about the adjudication process, we have Malcolm and Beck.
Hi, me again. So the adjudication process is comprised of an internal committee, a jury, and readers. Those committees will be made up of a diverse group of industry professionals from the media industry, including independent producers, broadcasters / network executives, funder analysts, and others drawn from across the country. This is an element that we are taking very seriously. We really want that those committees to be representative of the communities that we are aiming to serve. So it will be very diverse across in every way possible. The committee's deliberations and their recommendations remain confidential throughout the process. The recommendations are collated and tabulated by the program's executive committee, and all successful applicants will be announced publicly via a press release following the adjudication process.
OK, on passe maintenant à l'évaluation. Donc, les comités qui sont formés, entre autres, du comité interne, du jury et des lecteurs-lectrices sont composés de divers et diverses professionnels de l'industrie, des écrans en provenance de partout au pays. Donc, on s'assure vraiment d'avoir une représentativité au sein de ces différents comités et jury et lecteurs-lectrices. Très important pour nous que les projets évalués par des personnes de groupes sous-représentés soient donc suivis par des personnes de ces mêmes groupes qui font partie de l'industrie. Donc, on parle entre autres de producteurs et productrices indépendants et indépendantes, de télédiffuseurs, de responsables de réseau, d'analystes, des bailleurs de fonds et d'autres personnes pertinentes. Les délibérations et les recommandations des comités restent confidentielles tout au long du processus. Les recommandations sont colligées et consignées par le comité interne du programme, toujours de manière confidentielle. Les noms des personnes sélectionnées seront annoncés publiquement par communiqué de presse une fois les décisions rendues. And I'm done.
So the selection criteria that the committees for the writers and directors programs will be considering the following. Some of these bridge both programs, so it is as applicable. First and foremost, the mastery of craft. Does the applicant have a comprehensive knowledge and skill, whether it be for writing or for directing? Strength of experience. Now, this is not necessarily like, oh, do they have these amazing credits, but it's more or less, do they have a record that illustrates growth? Are they continuing to expand their craft in either space? A drive for global success. And this is a little bit of an expansion of the first 2 points, and it's, does the applicant continue to expand their craft and their skill set in anticipation of more opportunities? Does the applicant demonstrate a desire to optimize the experience offered by the program. That's really important to us to know that you will enter this program and be able to gain from it and move on to the next big thing. The other element is authentic perspective and creative vision, which is really just further to that point about tapping into the underrepresented talent pool in this country. We are really interested in seeing the talent that maybe has not been given the same opportunities.
Donc, l'évaluation. Alors, les critères de sélection dont les comités tiendront compte comprennent notamment, sans s'y limiter naturellement, la maîtrise du métier. Donc, on parle vraiment vos capacités à exercer le métier, que ce soit de scénariste ou en réalisation. La solidité de l'expérience, donc quel type d'expérience vous avez, combien d'années, sur quel type de plateau ou sur quel type de projet. L'envie de connaître un succès mondial. Donc, sur ce point, en fait, on recherche vraiment des profils de personnes qui vont vraiment prendre ce programme à bras, ou ces programmes à bras le corps, et en profiter pour faire croître leur carrière et pour identifier les opportunités qui s'offrent à eux dans le futur. Donc, on veut vraiment que ce soit des personnes qui ont envie de connaître ce succès. Ensuite, la valeur au sein de la communauté des réalisateurs et réalisatrices, ça c'est spécifique à ce programme-là, le programme de réalisation. Et ensuite, l'authenticité du regard et la force de la vision créative pour le programme des scénaristes. Donc, on veut vraiment aller chercher dans le bassin de talent qui n'a pas encore eu la chance d'exprimer ses histoires ou de porter ses histoires sur les différents écrans. Donc, les personnes de groupe sous-représentées à travers le pays, c'est extrêmement important pour WarnerMedia et pour l'Académie d'amener ces histoires sur les écrans et de les amener devant le public canadien et international.
All right, thank you, Mal, Nafisa, and Mara. And just to reiterate some key dates for everyone. So the application intake period has already started. It opened last week. And so the entire intake period is from December 9, 2021 until next year, so January 7 of 2022. The deadline, it says local time, it should actually say 5 p.m. Of your local time. We have the program jury, so applications will be adjudicated between February and March for both programs. Final decisions will be made in April, and then the director's program will start in April, and the writer's program will start in May.
Donc, les dates clés à retenir, la réception des demandes du 9 décembre 2021, donc c'est déjà ouvert, jusqu'au 7 janvier 2022 à 17h, heure locale. Le jury pour chaque programme sera en février et mars 2022 et les décisions définitives seront annoncées en avril 2022. Pour les débuts de programme, donc réalisateur, réalisatrice, avril 2022 et le programme pour scénariste, mai 2022.
All right, and we will be going, like I said, we will be going into our Q&A portion in a couple of seconds here, but if you have any questions that pop up in your brain after this session, you can email us at programs@academy.ca during the intake period or after as well. But if you have any specific questions that we didn't cover through this, please email that address.
Donc, si vous avez des questions ou des commentaires sur les directives des programmes ou le contenu de votre demande, ou si vous rencontrez des difficultés techniques liées au portail de soumission, on vous demande de contacter programs@academy.ca. Donc, si jamais aussi, il y a des questions que vous avez par rapport à votre candidature spécifiquement auxquelles on n'a pas répondu pendant cette séance d'information ou pendant la séance de questions-réponses qui suivra, on vous invite encore une fois à nous contacter à travers cette adresse courriel. Il nous fera plaisir de répondre à vos interrogations.
Thank you, Mara. All right, and so we will be going into our Q&A portion. I'm just going to stop share screen here so that we can go back and start answering some questions. We do have quite a bit of questions, and we have about, I would say, about 30-ish minutes, just over 30 minutes to answer these questions. Whatever questions we don't answer, we will try as much as possible to answer them via publishing them in our FAQs. So we will be updating that FAQs section both for the writers program and the directors program. All right, sorry, I'm just going to get into the questions here. I'm going to start off with the first question. Is the writers program customized to facilitate individual projects with a final deliverable?
Sure, I can jump in on that one. Yeah. So yes, based on the project that you're looking to develop in the program, when participants are invited into the program, we'd have a conversation on what that project is, and then set up deliverables for that project. So typically there are a few elements that you would be submitting. Typically, it's something like an outline, first draft, second draft, with feedback and support given throughout that period. But that would be a conversation with each writer of what project they're working on in the program, and then what the deliverables would be for that specific project.
Alfred, if you don't mind, I'll go back to the first question by Sarah Ben Daoud.
Yes, please go ahead. I was trying to figure that in French, but then thank you for noticing. Go ahead.
Désolée, Sarah Ben Saoud, non pas Ben Daoud. Donc, combien d'années d'expérience pour les réalisateurs? En termes de séries télévisées, on parle de quel genre, fiction, documentaire, variété, etc. Donc, combien d'années d'expérience? Pas d'années d'expérience, mais comme tu t'es rendu compte dans les diapositives suivantes, on parle vraiment de crédits. Donc, on parle de 2 crédits réalisés par dans des projets on disait animation, séries télévisées, films, etc. En termes de séries télévisées, on parle de quel genre? She's asking for television series, are we looking for a specific genre? Fiction, documentary, variety. So it is fiction for the director's program, n'est-ce pas?
Yes, it is scripted narrative, so it's scripted series. But there's, in terms of what your artistic approach is, if you're a horror director, come on in, right? I think it's a matter of knowing that the places you may be placed might not meet exactly the lane that you're in, but we definitely will work to try to on something that you're interested in doing.
Donc, on parle vraiment ici de séries télévisées de fiction. Donc, peu importe quel genre de fiction, vous pouvez faire de l'horreur, vous pouvez faire, je sais pas, de la comédie, etc. Mais on vous demande vraiment que ce soit des séries télévisées de fiction. J'espère que ça répond à votre question.
Thank you, Mara. All right, we've got a two-parter here question for the writers program. The first one is the project you develop in the program have to be brand new, or can it be already be partially developed? For example, be an outline or early draft or a part of the script. And also, does it have to be CanCon, a CanCon story?
So the project can be, the one that you're planning to develop in the program can be at any stage of development. So if you already have an outline or early draft or a full draft, but want to workshop it, that's fine. It just cannot be optioned. You cannot be working on it with somebody. So that's just the note there. In terms of, does it have to be a CanCon story? Not at all. Hopefully I'm okay saying that, yeah. But the idea, what we're looking for with this program is to really branch out and look at sort of global perspectives to the stories that we're telling. And knowing that, a project can be very Canadian and global at the same time, the idea is getting writers to, really push themselves and get a chance to explore the work that they maybe haven't had a chance to explore yet, given sort of the system or the structure that they're currently working in. So the idea is to sort of push yourself both in terms of the content or the genre or whatever it might be, but you can go as big with what you're looking at in terms of a story.
And I just want to clarify, I love CanCon. I wasn't clapping because it's not
yes. Sorry, us as well, obviously, we're in this industry, but we just mean that it doesn't have to be specific. We're not looking for CanCon in the projects that are being developed specifically. It can be, but it can also be something that is not CanCon.
Well, and just to
Yeah.
jump on that as well, I think like the biggest thing, I know Nafisa and I talked about this before, it's like we really do want to change people's minds about what are Canadian stories. So I think when we think CanCon, we're also thinking about the system that we're working in. There are a lot of creative limitations to it due to the budget ranges, due to the funding bodies and things like that. So please park those and swing for the fences, whether it be with your application or whether it be with the project that you have, should you be a selected candidate. That is something that I thought I wouldn't need to underscore, but in the first year I was like, wow, we really have to tell people like, it's okay to, bring us your crazy, weird stories. Please, please stretch your legs out creatively. We want to break down the idea of what Canadian stories are.
Thank you. All right. And then part two of that question. Oh, no, it just disappeared. Oh, wait, no, sorry, it didn't disappear. Part two of that question is, does your sample for the application have to be the same length as the project you plan to develop? Or can you have a mix? For example, have a half-hour application writing sample, but be planning to develop an hour long. I think the short answer to that is no. It could totally be a different lengths. Does anybody else want to expand on that?
Sorry, yeah, definitely different lengths. I will just say ideally in the same format. So if you are looking to develop a feature film, then the script, the sample that you're submitting is also a feature film, not a TV project. And then if you're looking to do a series, then that can be either a half hour or an hour that you submit. That can be a mix of the lengths as Ian is asking here. Genre, I'll just say you don't have to be both of the scripts don't have to match in genre at all. So play around with that as much as you want.
Thank you. All right, and we have a question here about the director's program. Would a web series directed by credit be okay? Is there a minimum broadcast time? Great question.
No, tell us your directing experience. I want to know how people are getting directing experience in the underrepresented communities. Bring it. If you have somebody in your life who you think they like maybe don't see themselves as a director, but they're directing, bring them on through. I want to hear about it all. So yes, that totally is a directing experience in our eyes.
Thank you. And then just to kind of tag on to that, another director's question here. Is it all right if you only have a short film credit and only independent films? I haven't had a chance to work on a big studio productions yet due to my immigration background, so on and so on.
Yes, I think as mentioned in the adjudication process, it is it's going to pass through a few different set of eyes. So we really do, if you have, short format, independently funded work, please, you're a director, apply. We will only get a better snapshot of what people are doing as directors. And it could always inform our future programs. I know it's very easy for me to say apply when I don't have to be the one putting myself out there. That is not lost on, I think, anybody who's been part of this planning committee. But we really, really, really want everybody who sees themselves as a director with experience to apply.
Thanks, Mel. Mara, do you want to take that question, that French question for the writers program?
Yes. So, est-ce que je peux déposer la V1 d'un projet dans la section exemple de scénario et développer ce même projet dans le cadre du programme? Oui, tout à fait. Vous pouvez utiliser la même chose pour le dépôt que ce que vous comptez travailler tout au long du programme. Simple comme réponse.
Thank you. All right. And we have a specific question here for Nafisa. For the writers program, does the original project and the writing sample have to be in the same genre? Oh, we already answered that. Sorry, I'm not reading ahead of the questions here. Let me just read the rest of that to see if we haven't answered it already. Also, if the original concept has been through many labs, is that a problem? Does the program act as a workshop for the creation of the script, or does it propel the advancement of the script?
Great question. It doesn't matter if the project has been through labs before, provided that there's space to grow the project and that there is room for that development still. And that's specifically what you as a writer are looking for, is to develop it. And no one is attached to it. There's no sort of option on it or other sort of creators that are involved in that process. The program acts more of a sort of, as you say, propelling the advancement of the script. There is obviously room to give, we are going to be giving feedback, and there's going to be a lot of that driving the project forward. So for example, if it is a project where you might already have a draft of it, you might be asked in the program to take it back to an outline stage, or go back with it a little bit to really get across the intention of that project and what you're looking to do, and then sort of build it back up again based on the feedback that you're receiving in the program and the sort of next stages of the deliverables. But Mel, do you want to add in here and just sort of, speak to that a bit?
Just like one piece, and it's that this is not like a pitch day. This doesn't lead to like a pitch day. I just heard my chair creak, so that's worrisome. So in terms of advancing that individual work, that's really not the undercurrent of what we're doing. We want to create a space where people can make something exciting that they maybe wouldn't be able to get funding for within the Canadian system. We want them to kind of like do something, I keep saying do something weird, and that sounds disrespectful, but it's like, I want them to we all want them to really explore something that's on the edges of their sort of creative slate, right? The thing that's kind of been buried in the back that you're like, I don't know, that's kind of weird. I don't know if anybody would be interested in it. This is an opportunity for you to be in the driver's seat and say, actually, yeah, I want to see what that thing is and develop it. So it's about sort of changing your sort of internal narrative and exploring these things creatively and stretching out and stuff like that. And it's less about getting an individual project in the right hands to get a green light. We are about changing the internal narrative for above the line talent, as well as building long lasting kind of relationships, and everybody uses the term pipeline, which I obviously don't love, but it is really about, it's much bigger than just one individual project, I would say. So bring in a project that you've previously been working on, but also use this as the opportunity that it is, which is to really have some creative freedom, which we don't get a lot of in this industry.
Thank you, Mel. All right, Mara, there's another French question that I'm excited because I actually know what the question is. Go ahead.
Ooh, wow. Do you want to answer it? No. Alors, la question de Sophia, est-ce possible d'appliquer aux deux programmes, donc le programme des réalisateurs et réalisatrices et celui des scénaristes? J'imagine, so the question is, can someone apply to both programs? To which I'm going to let you answer, but I would say yes if you have the sufficient credits. Donc, la réponse, en fait, c'est oui. Une personne peut poser sa candidature aux deux programmes, naturellement, si cette personne répond aux critères d'admissibilité pour chacun des programmes.
Thank you so much. All right, we have a question here for the writers program. The main kind of bulk of the question is, I do not have any TV or film written credits. Would stage playwriting be equivalent to the written by credit required for the application?
Yeah, it definitely would. So that would be, provided it was a stage play that was staged, that was, produced and exhibited, then it does count towards this professional writing experience that you would have.
Thanks, Nafisa. Mel, you're good? All right. We have a question here for the director's program, for the artist statement for the director's program. Are you the nature of our work in the context of the television landscape / why we are motivated specifically for television within Canada? Is that
I-
clear, folks?
I don't know if it's completely clear, but I think that there's maybe a question in there that I'm picking up, and it's why is both of these programs really geared toward television? And that is because WarnerMedia as an entity functions in Canada filming television series. So that's really where we can build those relationships. We are always open to looking at feature films on the writing side. On the directing side, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily feasible in that way. But we are always interested in any, I think for all of WarnerMedia Access Canada, any screen-based industry, but for the writer and directors program, because the opportunity exists more in TV, we are leaning a little bit more that way. I don't know if that answers the question.
Thank you. There's actually a clarification of the question. The question is actually, are you looking for the nature of our work in the context of the television landscape? I think you answered that though.
Yeah, and I think, you don't have to have only television experience. I think that's the other thing for both programs, is that we are valuing other experience. So, but if you have a position in the industry right now, you've been working in, let's say, like stunt coordinating for a period of time and you just started writing, like you can definitely give that context in both applications. There is an opportunity for you to talk about your, I think there's like an essay question in there. I can't remember how we described the essay question now, pardon me, but you can always highlight those elements there. Anything that you think is essential to understand your place in the industry right now and your experience that might go beyond just your credits is valuable.
Okay, and actually to tag on to that, somebody also asked, actually very related to that, can you please speak a little bit more about the director's artist statement and what you wish us to speak directly to?
I think we're really looking to hear anything about you as a director. If you have a very specific style that you believe, like that you want to pursue wholeheartedly, if you are, and it can also be an opportunity for you to talk about the work that maybe you haven't had a chance to do that inspires you or that you're interested in doing. We want to hear about your directorial approach on things, whether it be things you've done or things you hope to do. This is really an opportunity to talk about yourself as a director and really fill out some of the areas of your, say, CV or your reel that may be a bit more nuanced, right? I think a lot of us have always found ourselves in positions where we're like, this is going to feed my the thing I want to do, but it might not be a very clear picture. So this is an opportunity just to clarify some of the things you've done and the direction you want to go in.
Okay, thanks, Mel. And then a couple more questions here actually for the director's program. I'm going to combine two of them because they're very pretty related. For the director's program, is there a recommendation for the number of years of directing experience an applicant should have before applying, apart from having the 2 required directing credits within any of the mediums that were mentioned? So let's just answer that first. I think we've already been talking about the experience level. Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, no, there is no number of years. I think that we see people who will have been in the industry, for 5 years and done, maybe just had the opportunity to do more than someone who's been in for 15, right? So I think with that, we are really flexible. It does say 2 directed by credits, but I don't want people to think that it's a limitation, but it's also an invitation to explain to us your directing experience. So I know that there's, broadcast credits, there's like feature films and stuff like that. Those are kind of the credits everybody thinks of, but there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff on my CV that I'm really proud of that doesn't necessarily look like the very clear picture of what credit or what experience looks like. So it is open. Please apply. If you think you're a director, apply.
And also to add to that, this is one of the reasons why we've designed this program, where we're providing this program, is to provide access to folks that don't traditionally have access to these types of spaces. So if you have any remaining questions about your particular experience, please send us an email and we'll be happy to help you with that. In addition to the director's application, can you please elaborate on the visual reference? Is it like a reel, but only has 2 scenes from 2 separate works, or what is it exactly?
It's an opportunity for our jury to see what your work looks like. We do recognize that reels can be really effective, but maybe part of a really great reel is also can be attributed to a really great editor as well, when we recognize that. So we thought that it would be really great to just have a scene or a scene or 2 to see how you're blocking it, what it actually looked like. And it's not just a snippet, that it's a little bit of a fuller picture of what your work looks like when you're directing something. So hopefully that helps, but we will take reels, but would love maybe an indication of what within that reel if there's a longer scene in it or something like that. Nafisa, you speak about this better than I do.
No, but that's exactly it. I think what we're looking for is 2 scenes that you've directed that you are the most sort of excited about or proud of, and that you feel sort of speak to your directorial style or the kind of work that you want to be doing. You can get pretty creative in terms of how you interpret which 2 scenes you want to put forward, but it's exactly what Mel said, just for us to get a chance to see some of your work and hear from you what it is about those 2 moments that you directed that you are really proud of and excited about. We ask for each scene to be a maximum of 5 minutes long. And that can be within, like Mel said, within a reel. So you just would point out the time codes. If you're sending us an entire link to something, then you just give us the time codes of that particular scene that we should go to, so we can specify that to the juror. And then just a few notes on what it is about that scene that you are most proud of or excited about.
Okay, I will translate this because it's the next question. So, donc, comme le disait Mélanie et Nafisa, en fait, ce qu'on vous demande, c'est vraiment 2 scènes d'un projet que vous avez réalisé pour le programme des réalisatrices et réalisateurs, un maximum de 5 minutes par scène ou extrait. Important, si vous nous envoyez, par exemple, je ne sais pas moi, un long métrage ou un court métrage au complet, vous devez nous indiquer quel time code pour l'extrait que vous désirez que l'on évalue. Et pour chacun de ces extraits ou de ces 2 scènes, on vous demande aussi d'expliquer de façon narrative, en fait, dans la section narrative de votre candidature, pourquoi est-ce que vous avez choisi de mettre ces 2 scènes de l'avant et qu'est-ce que ça dit à propos de votre style de réalisation.
Thank you, Mara. We've got some questions here. I think this is both relevant for the writer's program and the director's program. What should the reference letter state?
I think it's really like we're looking for people to talk about what it was like to work with you, what they see when they look at you and look at your career. It's really somebody who can talk to all the things, can be an outside source to all the things you're putting forward in your application, and can be saying, yes, Melanie is driving to do X, Y, and Z, or yes, I've witnessed their desire to expand their craft. I think it's really to just capture that the individual is sort of who this program is made for, and who we're looking to serve, and that little kind of layer of being experienced, but they just need that extra little oomph to get to the next level.
No, I think that's it exactly. And again, it can be folks who can speak to that career trajectory, or working closely with you, so a collaborator that will know your directorial style or sort of your collaborative nature on set and stuff like that. Those are all things that we're always excited to hear. So.
All right, we've got probably time for just a handful more questions. Again, to reiterate, it looks like we actually have a ton of questions that came into the FAQ, the Q&A box. So any questions that we don't answer, as I said, we will update our FAQs. Some of the questions are very similar just to other questions, and so if you're looking for your specific question, it might have been consolidated with other questions. So when you're looking at your FAQs and you're wondering why your specific question wasn't answered, it was probably because it was consolidated with other questions. We have a question here regarding self-identification. Once applicant auto-identifies as belonging to the LGBTQ community, will that info be displayed later on? How will this information be used?
Generally, it won't be used, and it won't be displayed in any way from us, like from the program. It really is just for us to have a sense internally of our applicants, and as we've noted for both programs, what we're really hoping that these two programs do is support underrepresented communities in the industry. So that is why the self-identification form is there, and we do ask for folks to share what they're comfortable with. I will say in that self-ID form, all questions have an option to prefer not to share. All that to say, the information itself is just for us to know internally. It's not used or displayed in any capacity beyond the internal team.
Thanks, Safisa. All right, and we have a question here regarding the director's program. I directed mixed media performance, video installations, and also short films. And I am almost done post-editing a documentary. Are these examples fit or eligible?
I want to say yes. I just want to be like, yes, come through. That sounds incredible. I want to see what you're doing. And I think that is really interesting too, because I find that there is only really specific lanes to potentially be a director in this country. And there's these people who are sort of bridging different types of art and different types of storytelling. And I think that those people often bring very similar tools and are utilizing them in a different way. So I would say, yes, please come through with that type of experience.
All right, and we've got the question here specific to the director's program. The short films that have been presented at multiple recognized film festivals qualify as part of your professional experience. Many of us are expert amateurs or have been emerging for a long time due to the lack of opportunities at being hired. OMG, this program is for you. Go ahead.
Come through.
Yes, short answer. Yes, come through. So what do you folks think? Maybe three more? Let's do three more. Okay, all right. So we've got one question here. In the director's program, can you give some examples of shows where the participant might be placed? Ooh.
I would love to, but it is a tricky thing, and I'll explain why. Our priority is to place people on WarnerMedia titles. So that's I love how every time I say WarnerMedia titles, I immediately blank on one of the 10 productions that we have going in this country. A lot of it is out in BC, I will admit. But our goal would be to get people on those series. A lot of them, as you know, are superhero series. They're 1 hour formats. They're, American series. That would be our first priority. However, we are also open to placing these people on Canadian productions. But the bottom line is that we want to be placing them somewhere that is representative of the next step for them. I think when we look, and we've talked a lot about experience today and the different types of experience, especially in the Canadian ecosystem, especially for directing, the next step might not be, I can't think of one title, all of a sudden I'm fully drawing a blank, but it might not be that superhero series on the WB. It might actually be another Canadian production. We really want to be matching you, so to speak. That's why the window of time that you're on the roster feels so big from April to January, because the production, it could be happening in September, it could be happening in June, it could be happening at different times of the year. So we are actively we'll be actively making the cohort available to these titles, but we will always be trying to somewhat match make, somewhat trying to fit you into a situation where you are getting that next step, getting that next level access, hopefully. I hope that answers that.
Yes, yeah, I think that answers it well. Actually, one thing that we haven't actually even talked about, and I'd love to bring it up now, is with regards to access and geography. I know that a feature in the director's program, we will be providing financial support for folks that are, let's say, not in BC where there's a lot of production. So can you expand a little bit more on that, Mel?
Yes, I know that we know where service production occurs. We know how these things work. So we are definitely further to that point of like matchmaking. We have made arrangements to make it so that we can be supporting these individuals to get into the situations that help them get that experience or exposure they need to get to the next level. And I think I'll take it one step further and just talk about what an activation might look like when you're on the roster. I mean, my goal is that they'll look at somebody on this roster and be like, where have you been all my life? Yes, you are ready to direct. You are ready to split a block with somebody, or you are ready to with, somebody who's been on our show for a number of years. That's I think all of our goal. And that's really what we're aiming for. But there might be individuals who are not at that stage, but they're at maybe coming on set for an extended period of time, or coming to do a second unit or something like that. We are really open to what this activation for these individuals will look like, with the bottom line being that it is beneficial to their overall career trajectory. And we will always communicate with the cohort, with these individuals, what that opportunity looks like. And we will do the things that we can to facilitate that, whether that be providing support for that travel and time away. And I might be speaking too soon, but we're also talking about the other things that are come into play, especially with people who, are the main caregiver for their family and stuff like that. That is farther down the road, I think, but that's something that we're really cognizant of, that maybe if you're the single parent, that's been a part of what's maybe made it impossible to get that next opportunity. So we definitely want to support in the writers program and directors program, try to figure out ways that we can help ease that transition to get to the next level.
Thanks, Mel. And question here, actually, you've already touched on this, but I'd love for you to expand it. I'm going to combine two questions here about the director's program. So how is the director's program structured? Will it be an in-person, hybrid, a combination? And then kind of along with that is, how much time should we expect per week / month to be devoted to the program from April to January, specifically for the director's program?
Well, one thing that I'm really excited about, just broadly speaking, is the alumni community that we're building with the WarnerMedia programs, even outside of this, even outside of the partnership that we have with the Academy. We will, with our writers program, we did make sort of regular coffee and like water cooler sessions. Thank you, Alfred, you little genius. Alfred also grossly underplayed his role. He is like the glue of this family, but he facilitated water cooler sessions. And so those are all optional. There's a bunch of things that will be happening regularly that are optional. With the director's program, it's not like it's a set, oh, this is a boot camp and you have to be committing this many hours a week to it. Because it's a talent roster initiative, you're sort of laying in wait until you are activated. The things that you will have to do, though, that will be an expectation, is to be sort of kept abreast of any work or any bookings that you have coming up. If you're somebody who's like, I'm plugging away at this day job 9 to 5 and carving out time to step away and do my creative endeavors, that's a conversation we have to have, because you have to, the one thing you do have to be is a little bit nimble. We will always, we are working with physical production. We are working with production here in Canada and trying to forecast when some opportunities might be coming up in the new year. But I think it is, and we will always give as much notice as possible, but there isn't a weekly commitment. It's more just a general sense of keeping the line of communication open with the planning committee, Alfred, Nafisa, myself, Nancy, and being able to hopefully, be nimble and take advantage of an opportunity when you are called upon, when you're activated. But we will work with specific individuals and take into account, their current situation.
Thank you. Okay, and then one last question here. We're going to end with something that sounds like it's simple, but it's actually a great way to end. It won't be complex. Don't worry. I assume the writers retain the IP for the project submitted.
Yeah, we do not. We never own the rights to it. All we have on it is a window of time in which we are the only people looking at it. It is always yours. You always own it. It will, let's just say that you find yourself in a scenario that you're pitching that and somebody really likes it and they're interested in putting it to development. When you partner with a producer, that's when the conversation, I think, changes, or could change. But when you are working within this program, you are always the owner of that material.
Amazing. Thank you, Mel. Do you want to expand on any of that, Nafisa? You good? All right, folks. All right, so it looks like we actually have about 20-ish questions still open in our Q&A. Oh my God. So like I said, we will update our FAQs accordingly for the writers program and the directors program. We'll try to answer them as detailed and as best as we possibly can. If that does not suffice, please email us. You can email us at programs@academy.ca for any questions. You'll have Nancy and me fielding those questions, and also Nafisa and Mel. But again, folks, thank you all so much for joining us today in this info session. Thank you for making this last Q&A session a super lively one. And thank you to Mel, Nafisa, Mara, and Nancy for joining me today. Thanks, everyone, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thanks, Alfred. Thank you for your stewardship.
Right.
Merci beaucoup à tout le monde.